So in this lesson, we're going to make a simple text adventure game and hopefully learn a little bit about how we can control large amounts of data. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by creating a user interface, a UI, and we'll just do a text. So when you create a text, you have to zoom out a whole bunch until you can see this big sort of rectangle. This is considered like, your entire screen. And I'm just going to move this thing, our current text render, up to sort of like the middle. This is where, let's say, our story is going to go. On the right hand side, you can sort of increase your font size and, play with it, make it look a little bit nicer, do what you need to do to it. And we could, just put like sample text, just so you get a bit of an idea about what it's going to look like. As well as that, we're going to need some buttons. So we'll let the player have two choices. I reckon two sort of nice, simple choices. So let's get a button. And let's put this one over here, like so. And inside there's also a text. So we could set that text, make that font size a little bit bigger. And we'll just say this is our yes button. So feel free to beautify this a little bit. Maybe if you want to sort of give it a bit of a colour. There we go, it's got a bit of a blue. And we can create another one. So I'm just going to duplicate you because I'm lazy like that. And holding shift, move it over here. And let's give you, just the option of no, and let's change the button code to more of a red. And let's actually name these Let's call this one Y button. Oops, why did I put that as a lowercase y? Yeah, because I did. And then no button. And then, maybe we should give these the name too. Y text. Good to keep organized. And text. Alright, and for the most part, that's a nice sort of little setup. From this point, we can actually start creating ourselves a bit of a script to work with this. So let's right click in some space and create a new C# script, which I'm just going to call story script. And open that up. 2015. Why is it open 2015? I had a newer version. Never mind. Okay, so inside our script, we're going to start by going to the space where we create some variables. So let's go to Alt 6 and hammer enter a few times, because this is where we're going to set up past variables. And we'll do all of these as publics. So we've got a public text, which, oops, not a text, but a text, which we'll just call text. And we've got actually, let's quickly address this, sorry. So notice this has got a squiggly. And it's because we need to tell it that we're using the Unity user interface system. So, we pressed here and went to user interface. And this is what's referred to as an API. So we need to set the API by saying using Unity engine.ui. And notice the squiggly's gone. Cool. So let's create ourselves a button, public button, which we'll call Y button. And then we'll do the same thing again, but another public button, which we'll call N button. And then finally, let's create an integer, which is going to control our chapter, which we'll just call chapter. There we go. Awesome. So I've got our thing set up. Let's actually just test that it works, shall we? So we want to get our text, which is actually probably a stupid name to give it, equals, and then we can write a string here. Hello. Let's press semicolon and save it and see if it works. So in theory, once we apply this, we're going to need to apply this script. It should work. It should work. What shall we apply it to? Should we create a new game object? Yes. Let's create a new game object, which will just be sort of like our level manager. And then we need to assign them. So text is text, Y button is Y button, N button is that N button. Now let's press play. And text should update. It does. Hello. Hello. Hi. Nice to see you. So let's quickly sort of just explain, like I say, so create this new game object, which is sort of just like, it's really it's our level manager. And all we're doing on our level manager is we're speaking to this public text here, that this variable that we created, which is a stupid name actually, should give it a different name. But then inside that text variable, which is this game object here, we're speaking to the text system inside that, and then we're setting that text. So we're getting the text, we're setting the text system inside it, so I actually should have given it a name like user interface or canvas or something, and then said canvas.text, but it's fine, we can work with this. So now we know it works. Let's start to actually have a look how we're going to control the flow of the game. We're going to use switches. We're going to use switches, and this is going to allow us to handle a large sort of amount of data and not have to say, because alternatively we could do say like if chapter equals 1, do this, if chapter equals 2, do this, and so forth. But hopefully this should just give us a nice sort of easy way of handling this large amount of data. So let's set up our switch by saying, hey, let's make a switch. And that switch is going to be based off our variable chapter. So you have this variable here, which that's what we're basing this off. And then let's create some curly braces, and everything's going to exist inside there. So what we do is for each version is we're going to create a case. And that case is going to be 0. And then we're not doing a semicolon, but a full-on biggie. And then inside there, we're going to just do like we did before. We're going to get our text dot text, and then we're going to say you are going to say welcome stranger, and then don't forget to put this in speech marks because it's a string and we need to work in strings. And then from there we're going to hit a semicolon because it's the end of the line, and we need to break it basically because you create a fall through or like an endless loop, because obviously this is working on an update. It would constantly say, hey, this is true, hey, this is true, hey, this is true, hey, and because we're setting this, so we need to break it to stop it from doing that. So there you go, we've got a case. So if the variable equals 0, then say this. Now it sort of gets a little bit easier from this point. You could write it out properly, which I'd recommend, or you could cheat and sort of say, hey, you know, just copy and paste it. So what we're going to say in chapter 2, let's ask the person a question. Let's say, do you want to touch my eye? It's a very appealing offer, and we'll give them opportunity to test it, to try it out. So let's just save that for now, and let's test see if it works. So if we press play, it says welcome, and then let's click on it and change this to chapter 1, and it says, do you want to? Let's also make our font a little bit smaller because it's not wrapping or doing anything. Let's try it again. Welcome stranger. There we go. That's cool. So now we can go ahead and write lots more story. So we can just again, let's just actually take both of these and paste them down here. This will be 2 and 3. So essentially what we're going to do is every time the user presses a button, we're going to move to the next chapter, which is controlled by this switch with the different cases. So again, let's just say the user says yes. We'll say, hey, that's pretty strange, but Okay. Okay. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll respond further to that and say, ooh, that felt horrid. Don't do that again. I don't know where I'm going with this story. Oh, so that's not a question. Let's not actually write that. Let's just say, don't do that again. Okay. Terrible questions. But it doesn't really matter. You can write your own story here. It'll be a lot more impressive, and rather than just trying to make something silly up on the spot. But let's say the person says no. Let's actually create ourselves sort of like a new sort of case system. And let's paste it here, but actually let's call this like 101. So if you know the person, if we ask this question, do you want to touch my eyes? And they say yes, then we'll proceed here. But if they say no, let's go to, in fact, logically, should we go to 102? I think we should go to logically to 102. And then we'll say like, missed opportunity, see ya, and then we'll kill the game. That's it, game over, you failed. So now we've got a bit of sort of game flow. We need to sort of create how we're going to do this. So let's just save it. And after this void update, which we can see closes and ends here, let's create ourselves a new function, which we'll call void on enable. So what this is going to do, this is going to listen to the controller, the button, sorry. And this part might sound messy, but let's just type it out and I'll sort of explain it soon. So first we need to get access to our Y button. And then we're going to say, hey, on our Y button, what if, and we can scroll down and have a look, we were looking for like on click. What if the person clicks? Then we're going to need to add a listener, and again we can sort of preview what this says. So add a listener we'll call an event based on when it's pressed. So let's add a listener, and then we want to delegate. Maybe it's just easy to type it. And then we're going to say, hey, what do we do? Then what do we do? Well, let's take our chapter and let's increment it. And then, I mean, that itself would be a command. So let's semicolon that, and then close that function, end that, and stick a semicolon at the end of it, which again sort of looks confusing. Maybe it look visually nicer if we sort of put these on its own line and then sort of like edit it. Maybe that would look visually nicer. But all we're doing is, if the person presses it, we're going to get our chapter value, which is this integer, and then we're going to add 1 to it. So let's do the same thing again, but for our no button. So on our no button, let's say lowercase on click. On click, let's add a listener, and then let's delegate. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Delegate, and then we're going to say, and then let's just specifically right now, we'll just go to chapter 1 or 2 before we start adding more cases. Or if chapter equals 102 semicolon. Semicolon at the end. Cool. All right. In theory, that should work. Let's test it. So, if we say welcome stranger, we actually should probably start on question 1. So we'll say, do you want to touch my eye? Yes. Pretty strange, but okay. Yes. Don't do that again. Okay. Yes. I mean, that's all we've said so far. But what about no? Let's test if no works. So do you want to touch my eye? No. Missed opportunity. See ya. Awesome. So we're starting to see how those events systems work. But let's sort of see, let's see the benefit of the case here. So we're creating all these cases, but let's say instead on our no, we've got a few different endings. So instead of always sort of saying this, let's actually break this down a little bit more. So let's put you over here, and then put you guys down here to sort of close it. And instead of going straight to chapter 102, what say we say if our chapter is equal to 1, then we will go to chapter, just 1 equal because we're setting it, 102. Else, go to chapter, I don't know, 103. We could sort of set up lots and lots and lots and lots of these. We could, in fact, let's maybe not do an else. Let's do an else if chapter is equal to 2. We'll just say 2, and then we'll say chapter. Every time, what is wrong with me today? Chapter equals 103, and we could create like a long sort of like list of systems, sort of based on this. And essentially, this is what the switch is doing. It's kind of working in a similar way. It's all just designed to sort of control the flow of what we're doing. We don't actually have a chapter 103, so let's make a chapter 103 real quick, and then we'll just say, pretty please, can I borrow a $5? Don't forget to end the question mark, John. Proper grammar. Cool. All right. So now we've got we say no on chapter 2, then we'll ask that question instead. And like I say, you could really sort of build this out and flesh this out a lot more. But I'm going to, now you've got that, you can hopefully build on that using the same functions. But what say we want to make our game slightly more interesting? Well, actually, let's set up some more public variables. Which, remember, only we've got the text. We've got the text and we've got the colours, so we've even set the colours. But we're not going to. Let's set the text. So we're going to get another public text. And that is actually going to be our Y text. And let's do the same thing again. Public text end text. So you remember, again, in Unity, we've got these things, this Y text here and this no text. What about if we want the user to have a different option? So let's say, for example, on chapter 0, maybe instead, let's set our Y text. If I could type today. Wow, what did I call it? Y text. That's why it's not popping up. Y text. So we're going to get our Y text dot text. Okay, I'm just going to stop trying to shortcut. And then we're going to say, hey, I cannot type today. Y text. Instead, let's say, hi. And what about, because obviously we maybe might want to control the end button. Let's set the end button to be off, basically. So end button game object, and then set active, and then let's set you to false. So this is basically going to just turn off our button 1 in the first place, which we'll need to turn back on in a minute, but let's just test that it works. So, chapter 0, we'll say, hey, welcome stranger. It didn't work because I'm not set up my references. Don't forget to set up your references, your public variables. Let's try that again. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Thing has disappeared. Do you want to touch my eye? And let's bring it back. Shut up, Alexa.
Bring It Back by Travis Porter
No.
from Jonathan Spotify.
Alexa, stop. Are you kidding me? Alexa, stop. Unbelievable. That that really threw me for a loop. Yes, so on the chapter 2, we need to bring back our thing, and let's actually change, what our text says. So, same way with what we did before, we can start copying and pasting. So we say, do you want to touch my eyes? And I'll be like, what an opportunity. No, it's too long. Let's say, of course. And we need to bring back this button. So let's do that, and let's set you to true, obviously. And at this point, you sort of can go ahead and start changing all of your options. So let's do that. Let's test play. Hi, welcome, stranger. Hi, do you want to touch my eye? Of course. Lucas. Oh, come on, John. No, missed opportunity. See ya. But we can start fleshing out like an entire sort of game with this, and that's what I want you guys to do. That's what I want you to do. I want you to build on this, flesh out like an entire game. It doesn't have to be a long one. It doesn't have to be that sort of crazy. And then at the end, save everything. So you build settings like PC and Mac, actual open scene, and then build and run and create yourself a game and bring that game in and show it off to all your friends and to me, because I want to see that game. Share it with me. I want to see it. But that's it for this one. So build on that, practice. It's a good way to sort of like say cases and switches, are a good way to control large amounts of data and move around. Now, if you're going to do a real text adventure game, there are different methods and tools for sort of doing this, because it might get a bit unwieldy. Like you might sort of bring it all in like an Excel script or something. But there's going to be a good piece of practice for working with not only user interfaces and buttons, but also, like I say, controlling and navigating large amounts of data. And you can do this in sort of a simple way. And, even bringing like images and set those as well with the background. But right there is the basis of a text adventure game. Hope you found that useful. Cool.